everybody from room 3. It's Mrs. Johnson, and tonight we are going to begin our new book, Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I'll be reading you a little bit every night, and we'll get through this book just like we have the rest of our classics this year. And I hope you enjoy it. If you do, let me know. I'll be trying to set up some Zoom meetings here shortly, but just remember, guys, that I miss you and I can't wait till we're together again. All right. Hope you enjoy.
Chapter 1. Rescued from the Frozen Sea. The floating sheets of ice were slowly freezing together, threatening to crush the small sailing ship. Robert Walton, its young English captain, stood on deck, wondering if he were wrong risking the lives of his brave crew for his own ambitions. To explore oceans ships had never sailed on, and land men had never walked on. He dreamed of the benefits this discovery would have for all mankind if he were to discover a sea route near the North Pole from Europe to Asia. Walton had been born into wealth and could have chosen to spend his life in ease and luxury. Instead, he had spent the last 6 years at sea, working as a common sailor, enduring cold, hunger, thirst, sleeplessness, and often brutal discipline, just to prepare his body and mind for this long and dangerous voyage. But now, with the ice threatening his ship and the lives of his crew, it was doubtful whether or not any of them would ever see their homes and families in England again. At about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the thick, heavy fog that had surrounded the ship all morning began to lift. As it did, a strange sight appeared on the ice. "Look, Captain!" called a crewman, pointing to a dark spot a half-mile away. "It's a sled, sir, and those dogs are pulling it as if their feet had wings." Walton lifted his telescope to his eye. "And look at that driver," he cried. "He has to be the most gigantic man I've ever laid eyes on. What on earth is he doing here, out in the middle of the frozen sea, hundreds of miles away from land?" Within minutes, though, the mysterious traveler had disappeared on the ice, leaving Walton and his crew stunned and speechless. The next morning at dawn, Walton came up on deck to find his sailors leaning over the rail, apparently talking to someone on the ice below. "What's happening, lads?" he asked as he joined them at the rail. "It's a sled, sir," said a sailor, "much like the one we saw yesterday." Walton looked out over the rail. There, frozen to a block of ice, drifting towards the ship, was a sled, a dog team, and a driver. All the dogs were dead except one, and its reins were being held limply by a frost-covered man as he paddled the block of ice with a piece of wood. He appeared to be barely alive. "This isn't the same sled we saw yesterday," said Walton to his men, "and this man is nothing at all like the gigantic creature that sped past us." "Here is our captain," called one of the sailors to the man below. "Perhaps he can persuade you to come aboard." "Good Lord, man, you are near death," called Walton. "Let my men bring you up." "Thank you, sir," answered the man in a weak voice, "but first I need to know where your ship is headed." Walton was amazed that anyone so near death should ask such a question of anyone interested in saving his life. But he decided to humor the man by explaining, "We're exploring the seas near the North Pole." The man nodded and whispered, "North is good," and he let the sailors come down and carry him up on the ship. Once the man was on deck, the ship's doctor reported, His legs are nearly frozen, sir, and his body is so thin that his bones are coming through his clothes." "Wrap him in blankets and lay him gently near the stove," ordered Walton. "Then, when he warms up, feed him a little soup. Then put him in my cabin. He'll be more comfortable there, and I will take care of him myself." For 2 days the man didn't speak. The wild expression in his eyes and the frequent gnashing of his teeth made Walton fear that the man's suffering had driven him mad. Yet there were moments when someone was kind or helpful to him, that his eyes shone with kindness and gratitude. When the man was finally able to utter a few words, Walton asked him, "What were you doing out there on the ice in a sled?" The man's face immediately turned gloomy as he replied, "I'm looking for someone in a sled very much like mine." "We saw him," Walton explained, "only the day before we picked you up." This is where we're going to pause this evening, ladies and gentlemen, but we'll pick it up tomorrow. I hope to see you then. Bye bye.